Money.
Money makes the world go around, the world go around, the world go around. Money makes the world go around, it makes the world go round. A mark, a yen, a buck, or a pound.
Very sick, throwing up, diarrhea, lethargic, horribly. Headache, pressure in my head. I would actually sleep in my vehicle.
In Europe, they recommend 1.5 kilometers from homes, and we're putting them within 500 meters and 600 meters of homes, so that's far too close.
Industry says there's no scientific proof to back up the claims that wind turbines cause harm, and they won't move them.
This Canadian doctor says the symptoms being reported from around the world deserve more research.
Depending on your distance, you'll have 30, 40, or 50% of people who are troubled, not 100%. And that's why it's so important to do the studies to see just how many are troubled.
Some scientists say that until more research is done on possible health effects, companies should stop building these turbines less than 2 kilometers away from where people work or live.
My family have been forced out of our home by intrusive sound waves proven by acoustician Steve Cooper to come from nearby wind turbines at Cape Bridgewater. Many others have had to abandon their homes. There is no compensation, just cruel denial. My husband and I live in a battered old bus. Our children have been unable to stay with us.
The noise has personally affected my life in the fact that in my house you can hear the turbines running. They make a lot of noise. At nighttime when you lay down to sleep, if you don't get to sleep right away, it's kind of a drone sound. It's a constant sound. It's like thud, thud, thud.
I sell real estate for a living. I've sold real estate in Garrett County for just under 12 years. Once they understood that the possibility of the wind turbines might exist there, they didn't have any further interest in that area. Two specific cases here in these deeds, one property sold through the fire sale 80% less than the fair market value, and in the second deed was a little over 50% less than the fair market values. These deeds reflect amendments that basically are set up to hold the wind companies harmless from noise issues, from view restrictions. These are the same nuisances that we hear the wind companies say that will never happen. So they're placing these amendments to a deed for something they say never occurs.
He litigated, he went through an attorney and sold his property to the wind company.
The individuals were telling the community, oh, this is a fantastic facility. We're going to employ hundreds of people. It's going to create jobs for the area, opportunities for people, tourism.
There were supposed to be jobs come here to Maresdale from them after they started building. Well, I only know of that one person who had a job, and as soon as they were done and didn't need a guard anymore, he had no job.
The wind companies come in to these small communities and they wine and dine the local officials, and they look at us as backwoodsy hayseeds, farmers who know nothing, who think they can schmooze us with all their fancy talk and, you know, and say everything's going to be fine, and it's not.
And it's not green energy. It's dollar, dollar, dollar.
Robert McMurtry couldn't agree more. He's been following the very rapid wind energy expansion across the province.
There are lives being put in harm's way. There's no question in my mind about that.
McMurtry is the former Dean of Medicine at the University of Western Ontario and is currently an orthopedic consultant. For months now, he's been studying the medical reports of people who say the turbines are making them sick.
Apart from that, I just was called by another person today whose heart arrhythmia, something called atrial fibrillation, goes out of control when she's near the wind turbines.
So too would Glenn and Brenda Wilds. They've left their home amongst the turbines for the relative calm of a townhouse in Kincardine. They're happy and healthy here, but the headaches they got at their old home were simply driving them crazy.
But they did the test for the bats, they did the test for the birds, but I don't think they did any study for the humans. At the beginning, this is the room we had the major problem in.
Glenn Wilds is standing in what used to be his bedroom. You see, his family doesn't live here anymore. Wind turbines drove them out.
Well, we first started feeling it in the spring of 2008, but we didn't really know what was wrong with us. So we were feeling awful itchy in the house, major headaches, our hearts were really pounding.
Night after night after night without sleep, and you got so exhausted.
Just around the corner, Helen Forster rhymes off the symptoms she and her neighbors have been experiencing for well over a year now.
I have tinnitus and pressure in my ears and fatigue, heart palpitations, stress, anxiety.
The companies that run the 38 turbine wind farms say they've been studying the problem for months now.
We didn't find anything, so there's nothing we can point to directly that's causing these issues.
And now, as our health specialist Jennifer Tryon reports, some people living near wind farms here in Ontario are asking whether the turbines could actually be making them sick.
Beneath those turbines, way in the distance, is Tracy Van's real home.
Just the other side of the first one that you see.
She considers where she's renting now a safe enough distance. He says there's noise you can hear.
So they'll really be making whoosh, whoosh sound.
And a low-frequency noise you can only feel.
It's called infrasound, which is a vibration of the air that you can't hear.
One of the most telling features of it is that they prefer to sleep away from home.
Dr. Robert McMurtry treats and studies these patients. He says he's discovered nearly 4 in 10 people who live near wind farms get sick, most often when they live within 1,500 meters.
Has written the rules and regulations, and the government has accepted them without using a critical eye. This is a wind industry model to maximize profit at the expense of the people that live near the wind farms. Okay, you've met a lot of these people today. These people have no reason to make up stories. When you have people having to go rent other homes or live in motels, that's refugee status.
At first, Ernie Marshall was all for the new wind farm going up near his home.
It sounded like a great idea.
But soon after the turbine started rolling, he says he started suffering a litany of health complaints.
I've had problems with my heart. I've had problems, ears. It traumatizes your whole body.
Same for Helen and Bill Fraser.
We were like, yeah, more green energy.
But they also say they developed odd symptoms.
Headaches, major headaches, not sleeping, aching, like terrible body aches.
In the rush to build wind farms, there are now voices of those who live in the shadows of these gigantic turbines, who say the constant noise, the flickering light, the low-frequency vibrations are making them sick, but that often no one believes them.
And everybody kept calling me a liar. Sit there for a week and listen to it and see what it does to your body.
Some researchers think there may be a problem.
Magnetic fields Canada standard is 833 milligauss for 24-hour exposure. I think Sweden is like 2. They are meeting the standards, but the standards are not adequate to protect people. It gets on the electrical wiring of the home, and then it radiates out of the wall. It acts like you living inside a microwave. Develop a condition called electrical hypersensitivity. Some of the symptoms of that are ringing in the ears, pins and needles, can't sleep at night.
We had thought that wind turbines were good for the environment, and that goes along with what we, how we run our life and our farm. So we didn't think there'd be a problem until they started operating. It's the sudden wakings in the middle of the night when the turbines are running hard, but then you hear the constant swoosh, 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 swoosh in your bedroom. I wake up with heart palpitations and hard to know whether it's my chest that's vibrating or my heart that's actually thumping fast. And my lips vibrate, and my arms and legs can tingle all the way down to the bottom of my feet. On noisy nights, my blood pressure can jump to really high levels and then go back down on days when the turbines aren't running. Some nights it's been 150 over 80, and the pulse rate goes up with it, so it hits about 90. You can face the owner, which is the wind farm company where we are, actually had to buy 2 properties just before they released their noise monitoring to the government because they weren't going to comply. So it means that they were running harder than the allowable noise levels. They couldn't control it, and so they had to buy the people out. Our chickens, I can guarantee that when I've had a really bad night, I can come out here and I can go out to the hen house and there will be shellless eggs. The days when they're not so noisy, you can get rubber eggs with no calcium on the shell. And just misshapen and very misformed eggs so that they don't really hold together very well.
With the animals, especially the cattle, and after probably 3 months of operating, full operation of the wind farm, those cattle that were timid actually became aggressive to the point that one actually knocked me to the ground. So those cattle had to be sent to market. With the sheep, we had a lot of birthing trouble. We had a lot of lamb deaths. It was about 40% loss. We've
got no bats anymore, and that happened pretty instantly. When the turbines started running, all the bats just disappeared. They all sort of ran away.
I'm all for alternate energies, but I'm beginning to feel that this one certainly isn't a way to go. Even putting them offshore, as they're doing in Denmark and other places in Europe, I'm not sure that that's the answer, because recently I read a study about it actually affects the marine life as well.
The rotor is then thrown out of balance and explodes into pieces. Jagged metal and fiberglass rain across the countryside, covering an area of over a half mile. Residents are grateful that no one is hurt.
Gulvet det gav på. Og da han så kiggede ud af vinduet, så kunne han så se dele fra vindmøllen kom flyvende hen over taget.
.5 kilometers from homes.
2 kilometers away from where people work or live.
1,500 meters.
Money. Money makes the world go around, the world go around, the